The scent of moon orchids and pines fills the great meadow, a perfume of nervous hope. Tonight is the unveiling, the one night a year when the goddess pairs mates under the gaze of the twin moons. My heart hammers against my ribs, a frantic drum against the silence of my own inner beast. I am Ilara, an omega of the Stonefang pack, and I am wolfless. A flaw, a curse, a gaping void where a proud, wild spirit should be. It has defined my 20 years, painting me in shades of pity and scorn. Around me, the pack thrums with energy. Alphas stand taller, their sense sharp with dominance. Betas move with quiet confidence, and other omegas whisper behind their hands, their own wolves fluttering with anticipation. I stand alone at the edge of the crowd, as always. My dress is simple, a hand-me-down gray that does nothing to flatter, but it is clean. It is the best I could do. I smooth the rough fabric over my hips, my hands trembling slightly. It is foolish to hope, a special kind of masochism I have perfected over the years. But tonight, the air feels different, charged. A hush falls over the thousands gathered as he steps onto the central dais. Alpha King Kalen. His power is a physical force, a wave of heat and raw authority that washes over the meadow, demanding submission. He is carved from granite and fury, with eyes the color of a winter storm and hair as black as a raven's wing. His scent is a thunderstorm rolling over a forest of pine and earth, a scent that makes every wolf in attendance, mine included if I had one, want to bow. He is the ruler of all packs, and tonight, the goddess will name his queen. His gaze sweeps the crowd, imperious and detached. He is looking for no one and everyone. The law is the law, the bond is the bond. Even a king cannot defy the goddess's choice. A collective breath is held. The High Elder begins the ancient chant, her voice a reedy tremor in the profound silence. The moons, one silver and one sapphire, climb higher, their light weaving together, bathing the meadow in an ethereal glow. A strange warmth begins to prickle at my skin, starting in my chest and spreading like wildfire through my veins. My breath catches. It is a phantom sensation, an echo of what the other shifters describe. The pull, then the scent hits me. Not Kalen's public scent of command, but his private one, the one meant only for his mate. It is the smell of smoldering embers after a lightning strike, of clean, cold snow, and a hint of wild mint. It is the most beautiful thing I have ever known, and it is coming from him, aimed directly at me. Mine. The word is not a thought. It is a primal certainty that blooms in the empty space where my wolf should be. A shock, pure and absolute, jolts through me. My eyes find his across the sea of bodies, and I see the same stunned disbelief mirrored in his stormy gray irises. The pull becomes a physical rope, yanking my soul toward his. The High Elder stops chanting. 1,000 heads turn, following the king's locked gaze, and land on me. Me, the wolfless Omega. A murmur ripples through the crowd, turning into a wave of confused, then scornful whispers. I can feel their disbelief, their disgust. A wolfless Luna Queen? It is an abomination, a mockery of their traditions. My brief, impossible joy curdles into ice-cold dread. I see the conflict warring on Kalen's face. The shock, the primal instinct of the bond pulling at him, and then the slow, chilling mask of pride and duty descending over his features. He is the king. His line must be strong. How can it be with a broken mate? He raises a hand, silencing the crowd. His eyes are still on me, but the warmth is gone. replaced by a glacial coldness that shatters my heart before he even speaks. The scent of snow and embers vanishes, smothered by the hard, unyielding scent of pine and rock. The rejection is a scent before it is a word. The goddess has made an error, he says, his voice a low growl that carries to every corner of the meadow. Each word is a stone cast at my fragile hope. The crowd gasps. To question the goddess is sacrilege, but he is not finished. He straightens to his full, imposing height, his jaw tight. A king needs a queen, not a weakness. A wolf, not a void. His gaze is a physical blow, and I stagger back a step. The shame is a searing heat crawling up my neck, flooding my face. I want the ground to swallow me. I want to cease to exist. He takes a deep, deliberate breath, and the finality in the sound is the snap of a bone. I, Alpha King Kalen, in my right as sovereign of the United Packs, reject this wolfless Omega, Ilara of Stonefang, as my mate and my Luna Queen. A collective sigh of relief and approval ripples through the shifters. They are glad, glad to be rid of the blemish I represent. The bond, newly formed and brighter than a sun, shatters. The pain is indescribable. It is not a clean break, but a violent tearing, a shredding of my soul. A scream builds in my throat, but I choke it down, my pride the only thing I have left. I will not give them the satisfaction of my tears. The phantom space inside me, once just empty, now aches with a cold, agonizing wound. My own Alpha, Alpha Marcus of Stonefang, steps forward. He does not look at me. He looks at his king. Your Majesty is wise, he says, his voice full of fawning respect. We will handle this disgrace. Kalen gives a curt nod, his face a mask of stone. He has already dismissed me. He turns his back, presenting his profile to the crowd as if nothing of consequence has happened, as if he has not just murdered a part of my soul in front of 1,000 witnesses. The pain is so immense, it becomes a strange, floating numbness. I watch as his shoulders tense, a flicker of something, perhaps the protest of his own wolf, but it is suppressed in an instant. Exile, Alpha Marcus declares, his voice ringing with false regret. He finally turns to me, his eyes cold. The wolfless reject has no place here. You will be cast out at dawn. Your presence shames our pack. Exile, a death sentence. No lone shifter, especially a wolfless Omega, can survive the wilds. But as I stand there, stripped of my pack, my home, my identity, and the one fragile hope I ever allowed myself to hold, a strange, hard resolve settles in the pit of my stomach. They want me to break. They expect me to die. I lift my chin, meeting my Alpha's gaze, and through him, the gaze of the king who will not look at me. I will not. The dawn comes, cold and gray. I am escorted to the edge of the territory by 2 warriors who cannot meet my eyes. They leave me with nothing but the clothes on my back and a small satchel containing a water skin and a stale loaf of bread. The border is marked by a line of ancient weeping willows. Beyond them lies the unknown, the wilderness, and my death. As I step across the invisible line, the last frayed threads of the pack bond snap, leaving me utterly, terrifyingly alone. The wind whispers through the trees, a mournful song of farewell. I do not look back. I walk toward the rising sun, one foot in front of the other, the gaping wound in my soul a cold, constant companion. The first few weeks are a blur of misery. Hunger is a gnawing beast in my belly. Fear is my shadow. I learn to forage for berries and roots, my stomach often cramping in protest. I learned to find shelter in hollow logs and shallow caves, shivering through the cold nights. The ache of the rejected bond is a constant, throbbing presence, a phantom limb that will not stop hurting. Some nights, the pain is so sharp it steals my breath, a physical manifestation of Kalen's cruel words: void, weakness, reject. I almost die 3 times. Once from a fever brought on by drinking stagnant water, once from a rock slide that nearly crushes me in my sleep, and once from a starving feral wolf, its eyes glowing with mindless hunger. It corners me against a cliff face, its lips peeled back in a snarl. I have no claws, no fangs, no wolf to call upon. I have only a rock clutched in my hand, and the stubborn refusal to die as they all expected. As the wolf lunges, something inside me, something that is not a wolf but is ancient and deep, surges. A command, silent and powerful, flashes through my mind. Stop! The feral wolf skids to a halt, whining in confusion, its head cocked. It looks at me, then at the forest around us, as if hearing a threat I cannot. Then, with a final, frightened yelp, it turns and flees into the undergrowth. I am left panting, the rock falling from my nerveless fingers. What was that? It was not my voice. It was a feeling, a pressure, a will that was not my own but came from within me. It felt green and old, like the forest itself, like the earth breathing. I press a hand to my chest, over the cold void. For the first time since the rejection, I feel something other than pain there. A flicker, a spark of warmth in the endless winter of my soul. It is a seed of a question, a hint of a power I do not understand. And in the heart of my utter desolation, it is the first stirring of hope. I hit my lowest point there, huddled against the cold stone, but I do not break. I choose to live. I will find out what that power is. I will survive. I will become something more than the wolfless Omega they threw away. 5 years pass, 5 years of solitude and hardship that sculpt me into someone new. The girl who was exiled is gone, buried under layers of scars and survival. I no longer live on the run. I have made a home for myself deep in the Shadowwood, a primeval forest on the edge of the kingdom that other shifters fear. They say it is haunted, cursed. They are not wrong, but I have learned its secrets. My home is a small, sturdy cabin I built with my own hands, nestled in a hidden valley by a clear, fast-running stream. The forest does not haunt me, it speaks to me. The power that flickered to life 5 years ago has grown into a steady, quiet flame. It is not a wolf. It is the lifeblood of the wood itself. I can feel the pulse of the trees, the thoughts of the animals, the flow of water deep underground. I can encourage plants to grow with a touch, soothe a wounded animal with a hum, and persuade the shadows to cloak me when I wish to be unseen. The creatures of the wood, from the squirrels to the great bears, treat me not as prey, but as part of the landscape. I am no longer wolfless. I am the forest's heart. My body has changed as well. The soft, underfed Omega is gone. I am lean and strong, my muscles honed by years of climbing, hunting with a bow I crafted, and tending my small patch of land. My skin is weathered by the sun and wind, and my hands are calloused, but they are capable. I am entirely self-sufficient. I need no pack. I need no alpha. I need no king. The ache of the bond has faded from a constant agony to a dull, persistent scar, like a poorly healed bone that aches when a storm is coming. And lately, it has been aching more and more. Sometimes I feel tremors in the land, a wrongness that seeps from the deepest parts of the woods. Shadowy creatures, things of nightmare and twisted earth, have begun to stir at the edges of my valley. They are mindless, driven by a consuming hunger for life. I have fought them off, using my connection to the forest to create barriers of thorns and roots, to turn the very ground against them. But they are growing stronger, more numerous. A darkness is rising, and I feel it is connected to the strange ache that has begun to throb in my chest again. One day, a new scent appears at the edge of my territory. Wolf, but not feral. It is cautious, respectful. For days, he just watches from a distance. I know he is there, the forest tells me. Finally, I confront him. He is a lone wolf, an exile like me, named Reese. He has kind eyes the color of warm honey and a scent of dry leaves and autumn sun. He is not a threat. They call you the Witch of the Shadowwood, he says, his voice a low rumble. He does not bow, but he inclines his head in a gesture of respect. They call me many things, I reply, my voice rough from disuse. None of them are my name. What should I call you? He asks, his gaze open and honest. Ilara. Reese becomes a tentative friend. He is the first person I have spoken to in 5 years. He respects my solitude, but offers quiet companionship. He tells me of the world outside my forest, of the growing blight across the land, the failing crops, the whispers of monsters in the dark. He tells me of the king, a king who has grown colder, more distant, who has never taken a mate, despite the pressure from the council, whose pack feels the strain of an incomplete alpha, a leader whose wolf is rumored to be in a constant battle with him. Reese does not know the story of my rejection, and I do not offer it. My past is my own. He treats me with a gentle reverence that is entirely foreign. He sees my power not as a curse or a flaw, but as a wonder. He looks at me, and I see admiration. He represents a life I could have, a simple, peaceful existence with a good man who values me for who I am. He is safe, he is kind, and he is not Kalen. The thought is both a relief and, to my eternal frustration, a disappointment. The ghost of a bond, the memory of that smoldering ember scent, is a poison I cannot seem to sweat from my system. The ache in my chest sharpens one evening. A storm is coming, not a natural one. The sky turns a bruised purple, and the wind howls with a malevolent voice. This is the work of the shadows, a storm of unnatural cold and despair. I secure my cabin, reinforcing the wards of thorn and root around my small valley. Reese is hunting further south and will be safe from the worst of it. I am alone, and I prefer it that way. The storm is a battle, and I must fight it with the forest as my ally. The cold is bone deep, a chill that has nothing to do with temperature and everything to do with the life-draining hunger of the shadows. Snow begins to fall, thick and heavy, blanketing the world in white. For 2 days, the storm rages. I spend my energy holding the wards, pushing back against the encroaching darkness. My power feels stretched thin, the forest groaning under the strain. On the 3rd night, as the storm reaches its zenith, I feel something new. A life. A shifter life. Stumbling, weak, and freezing on the edge of my territory. And beneath the scent of pain and frost, there is something else. Something horribly, impossibly familiar. Embers, snow, wild mint. My blood turns to ice. It cannot be. The bond scar in my chest screams, a sudden searing agony that nearly brings me to my knees. The forest tells me he is dying, injured, his leg broken, the unnatural cold of the storm seeping into his very core. He will not survive another hour. My first instinct is to let him die. Let the forest he abandoned me to claim him. Let the cold take him as it nearly took me. It would be justice, weakness. His voice echoes in my memory. Void. Reject. My hands clench into fists. My knuckles white. Let him freeze. Let him suffer. He deserves it, a bitter part of me hisses. But the person I am now is not the girl he broke. I have survived. I have built a life, a sanctuary. My power is rooted in life, in preservation. To let him die, to stand by and do nothing, would be a betrayal of everything I have become. It would be an act of weakness, not strength. With a curse that is half a sob, I grab my thickest cloak and my medical satchel. I will not let his darkness poison mine. I will drag him from the jaws of the storm, and then, when he is healed, I will cast him out again, on my terms. I step out into the howling blizzard, the familiar scent of my long-dead past pulling me forward. My wolf is a silent, hollow cavern inside me. For 5 years, he has been nothing but a ghost, a cold weight where a roaring fire used to be. The moment I rejected her, Alara, my mate, he turned his back on me. He did not leave. He died. Or worse, he sleeps, a constant internal rebuke for my crime. I am a king without the core of his power, a hollow shell of an alpha, and every single one of my subjects feels it. My reign is cold. My heart is colder. The pain of the severed bond was not a clean cut for me, either. It was a festering wound. For the first year, I tried to pretend it did not exist. I threw myself into my duties, ruled with an iron fist, tried to force the world to bend to my will. I told myself I had made the necessary choice. A wolfless Omega would have been a catastrophic weakness. My enemies would have pounced. My legacy would have been one of failure. Pride was the shield I held against the agony. But the nights were my undoing. Sleep offered no escape. I would dream of her wide, hopeful eyes in the moonlight, of the scent of rain-soaked earth and wildflowers that was uniquely hers, a scent my wolf had recognized and claimed before my own foolish mind had interfered. I would wake up reaching for her, the ache in my chest a physical chasm. I tried to take other partners, to move on as the council urged, but it was impossible. My body refused. My silent wolf refused. My very soul, tied to her despite my pronouncement, refused. I was marked, and I had thrown away the only person who could ever complete me. The land itself reflects my failure. A blight spreads from the shadow wood, a creeping darkness that sickens the soil and births twisted, shadowy creatures. My warriors fight them, but it is a losing battle. The darkness is a symptom of a deeper illness, a spiritual decay that I feel in my own bones. I am a broken king ruling a broken land. My advisors whisper that it is a curse, that the goddess is punishing me for my hubris. I know they are right. Today, the curse took on a new form. A blizzard, born of shadow and malice, descended upon the northern territories. I was leading a scouting party, tracking a pack of the shadow beasts, when the storm hit. It was unnatural, disorienting. The cold was a living thing, draining our strength, our very life force. We were separated. A beast, larger than any I had seen before, ambushed me. It was all shadow and claws. I fought it, but without my wolf's full power, I was slower, weaker. It caught my leg in its foul grip, and I felt the bones snap. The pain was white hot, but the cold that followed was worse. I managed to kill the creature, but the victory was hollow. I was alone, crippled, and freezing. I have been stumbling for hours. My royal guard is gone. My horse is gone. There is only the howling wind and the blinding snow. The cold has seeped past my skin, past my muscle, and into my marrow. It is a familiar cold. It is the same cold that has lived in my chest for 5 years. I collapse against a snow-covered tree, my body finally giving out. This is it. This is my pathetic end. An arrogant king, frozen to death in a ditch because he was too proud to accept the gift the goddess gave him. It is a fitting, ignominious justice. My last coherent thought is of her, her face, her scent. Ilara, I am sorry. I am drifting in a sea of white pain when a new scent cuts through the storm. Rain-soaked earth, wildflowers, and something else. Something green and ancient, moss and old trees, and deep dark soil. It is her. It must be a hallucination, a final mercy from my dying mind. Then a shape materializes out of the blizzard. A figure, cloaked and resolute, moving through the storm as if it were a part of her. She kneels beside me. Her face is leaner, harder, but it is undeniably hers. Those same eyes, though now they hold a wariness and a strength I have never seen before. You, I manage to rasp, my voice a broken thing. She says nothing. Her expression is a tempest of conflicting emotions. I see the old pain there, the memory of my cruelty, but I also see a flicker of something else. Pity? No, not pity. Reluctance. Duty. She places a hand on my forehead, and her touch is surprisingly warm, a small spark of life in the encroaching frost. She examines my leg, her movements efficient, practiced. It's broken, she states, her voice low and steady. It holds none of the timid softness I remember. This voice has command in it. I try to push myself up. I don't need, you need to be quiet or you will die. She cuts me off, her tone leaving no room for argument. The Alpha King, being ordered around by the Omega he cast away. The irony is so bitter it almost makes me laugh, but the sound comes out as a rattling cough. She looks at me, really looks at me, and I wonder what she sees. Not a king, just a broken man, dying in the snow. The man who destroyed her life. I expect her to leave me. It is what I deserve. But she does not. She loops one of my arms over her shoulders, her frame surprisingly strong. Get up, she commands. With a grunt of effort, she hauls me to my feet. My entire weight rests on her as I hop on my good leg. She is carrying me. The wolfless Omega, the weakness I cast aside, is now my only hope of survival, carrying me through a storm that should have killed me. The world fades in and out, a swirl of white snow and the impossible, life-giving scent of her. My last conscious feeling is the shame, hot and sharp, even as the cold threatens to consume me entirely. Finding him is a shock. Dragging him back to my cabin is a surreal nightmare. He is heavier than a sack of stones, and every step is a struggle against the wind and his dead weight. The bond scar throbs with a vicious, confusing rhythm, a mix of agony and a terrible, treacherous resonance. It recognizes its other half, even as my mind screams in protest. I get him inside, bar the door against the howling storm, and half drop him onto the pallet of furs I use as a bed. His breathing is shallow, his skin a deathly gray. The unnatural cold of the storm clings to him, a parasite I can feel with my own senses. I work quickly, my years of solitude having made me a capable healer. I cut away his torn and frozen breeches, exposing the mangled leg. The break is bad, a compound fracture. Setting it will be agony for him, but it has to be done. I gather splints, clean moss for padding, and strips of leather. He is unconscious, which is a mercy. As I work, I cannot help but see the changes in him. He is thinner, his face gaunt and etched with lines of stress and sleeplessness that were not there 5 years ago. The arrogant power is still there, buried deep, but it is overlaid with a profound weariness, a deep, abiding suffering. A small, vindictive part of me is pleased. Good. He should suffer. But the larger part of me, the healer, the woman who commands life in this forest, feels an unwelcome pang of empathy. I take a deep breath and grip his leg. With a sharp, brutal movement, I set the bone. He cries out in his sleep, a raw sound of pure pain, and his body arches off the furs. For a moment, his eyes flutter open, clouded and delirious. They focus on me, and he whispers a single word, a name that feels like a brand on my skin. Alara? Then he slips back into unconsciousness. I finish splinting the leg, my hands shaking. His core temperature is dangerously low. I strip off his remaining wet clothes, trying to be as detached as a physician, but it is impossible. This is the body of the man my soul chose, the man who cast me out. The scent of him, muted by sickness, but still undeniably him, fills my small cabin. It is suffocating. I pile every blanket and fur I own on top of him, but the shadow cold is persistent. It is a magical ailment, not a physical one. My normal remedies will not be enough. There's only one way. I hesitate, my whole body rebelling against the idea. But if I do not, he will die. Cursing my own compassion, I lie down on the pallet beside him, outside the furs, and press my body against his. I focus my will, drawing on the life energy of the forest around me, the green and growing warmth that is my power. I push that warmth into him, a direct transfusion of life. It is like pouring water onto a frozen stone. The cold fights back, draining my own energy, but I persist, gritting my teeth. I am no longer the weak thing he remembers. I am strong, and this is my domain. Slowly, painstakingly, the gray pallor of his skin begins to recede, replaced by a faint flush of life. The battle lasts for hours until I am utterly exhausted, and finally, his breathing evens out, deep and steady. He is asleep, truly asleep, for what I suspect is the first time in years. I have saved the life of the man who tried to end mine. I do not know if that makes me a saint or a fool. He wakes 2 days later. I am sitting by the fire, sharpening an arrowhead, when I feel the shift in the room. I look over to see his eyes open, clear and lucid for the first time. He pushes himself up on his elbows, his gaze taking in the small, rustic cabin, the drying herbs hanging from the rafters, and finally, me. Recognition dawns, followed by a wave of complex emotions. Shock, confusion, and a deep, soul-shattering shame. You saved me, he says. It is not a question. His voice is a hoarse rasp. The storm has passed. You were lucky, I reply, my tone clipped and cool. I turn my attention back to the arrowhead, refusing to look at him. I will not let him see the turmoil he causes in me. Luck had nothing to do with it. He shifts, wincing as he feels the splint on his leg. This place, it feels alive. It is, I say simply. This is my home now. The silence stretches, thick with unspoken history. He is the king. I am the exile. We are mate and rejecter. The power dynamic that has ruled my entire life is now inverted. He is the helpless patient. I am the powerful master of this domain. The knowledge is a cold, satisfying weight in my gut. Why? He finally asks, his voice barely a whisper. After what I did, why would you save me? I finally look up, meeting his gaze. My own eyes are cold, hard mirrors reflecting his question back at him. Because my survival was never about you, Kaylin. I survived for myself, and the person I am now does not let living things die on her doorstep, no matter how much they might deserve it. The words are sharp, and I see them land, see him flinch as if struck. You are different, he says, his gaze tracing the lines of my face, the strength in my shoulders. You have power. I can feel it. It's not a wolf, but no, I cut him off. It's not a wolf. It is mine. Over the next few days, a tense, unspoken truce settles between us. I bring him food, a simple broth, then roasted rabbit, and change the dressing on his leg. We barely speak, but he watches me. He watches me as I move about the cabin, as I tend my indoor garden of herbs, as I sit by the fire and stitch a tear in my cloak. I can feel his gaze on me constantly, questioning, searching, filled with a regret so palpable it is a scent in the air, mixing with the ever-present smell of embers and snow. One evening, the shadow beasts test my wards. A low growl emanates from the forest, a sound that makes the hair on my arms stand up. Kalen stiffens, his alpha instincts on high alert despite his injury. What is that? My neighbors, I say dryly, walking to the door and peering out a small slit. 3 of the creatures are there, their forms vaguely canine, but made of shifting shadow and malice. They claw at the barrier of thorns I have woven, their soulless eyes fixed on the cabin. We have been fighting these things for months, he says from the bed. They are spreading across the kingdom. I know. They rose from the deep woods when the land began to feel sick, I reply, my eyes still on the creatures. The sickness started 5 years ago, he says, his voice thick with self-loathing. He knows, as I do, that our broken bond is the source of the plague. A broken royal pair, a broken land. I turn from the door and focus my will. Outside, the roots of the ancient oaks that guard my cabin writhe to life. They surge from the ground, thick as pythons, and wrap around the shadow beasts. The creatures dissolve with silent screams, absorbed back into the earth. I release the power, breathing a little heavily from the effort. I turn back to find Kalen staring at me, his face a mask of awe and utter devastation. He has just witnessed firsthand what he threw away. He mistook my lack of a wolf for a lack of power. He sees now, with brutal clarity, how wrong he was. The arrogant king has been humbled, and the realization is a tectonic shift in the space between us. He opens his mouth to speak, but no words come out. What can he possibly say? The proof of his catastrophic mistake is standing right in front of him, her power radiating like a quiet sun, and he is trapped here, forced to confront the magnitude of his folly. The days that follow are heavy with a suffocating tension. He is healing, his shifter physiology knitting bone faster than any humans, but he is still weak, still trapped in my care. The grovel begins not with words, but with his eyes. Every time he looks at me, I see a mountain of regret. He watches me perform my daily tasks with a new, desperate intensity, as if trying to memorize the woman I have become. He sees me talk to the birds that land on my windowsill, sees the way the fire in the hearth leaps a little higher when I am cold, sees the undeniable power that flows through me and this valley. I was a fool, he says one morning, his voice raw. I am kneading dough for bread, my back to him. I do not stop. I was arrogant, and I was afraid. I punch the dough down harder than necessary. Afraid of what? A wolfless girl? No, he says. and the honesty in his voice makes me pause. I was afraid of being seen as weak. My father's reign was plagued by challenges to his authority. He taught me that an alpha king must project absolute, unquestionable strength. The council, the rival packs, they were watching. When the goddess chose you, a wolfless omega, I saw it as a test. I thought showing any hesitation, any acceptance of what they would perceive as a flawed mate, would be the end of my authority before it truly began. So you broke me to save your pride, I state flatly, turning to face him. My hands are coated in flour. I broke us, he corrects, his voice cracking. I broke myself. My wolf has been silent since that day, Ilara. A constant, cold emptiness. It is my penance. I have not known a moment's peace in 5 years. I deserve none. His confession hangs in the air. It is not an excuse. It is a reason, born of weakness and fear. But it is the truth. For the first time, I allow myself to truly see the suffering in his face, the hollowed-out look in his eyes. My inner healer recognizes a wound that mirrors my own. His suffering does not erase mine, but it makes him human, flawed, pathetic in a way. The towering, cruel king is gone, replaced by this broken man. Before I can respond, a familiar scent reaches me. Reese. He appears at the edge of the clearing, his honey-colored eyes widening in shock as he sees Kaelin through the open cabin door. He looks from the king on my bed to me, his expression hardening with confusion and a flicker of betrayal. Ilara? Reese calls out, his voice tight. He steps into the clearing, his posture stiff and wary. He is a lone wolf, but he is no coward, and he is facing his king. Reese, I say, my voice softer than it has been with Kaelin. I step outside to meet him, leaving the king to watch from the doorway. What is he doing here? Reese asks, his gaze flicking back to Kaelin with distrust. The king who lets his lands rot while he stops, sensing he is stepping on dangerous ground. He was injured in the storm. I found him, I explain simply. Reese looks at me, his kind eyes searching my face. He can smell the history in the air, the thick, cloying scent of the bond, soured by rejection but still undeniably present. He sees the way Kaelin looks at me, with a desperate hunger that has nothing to do with food. He sees the tension in my shoulders, the wall I have built around my heart, and he understands. Ah, he says softly, a world of disappointment in that single sound. So that's it. He looks from me to the broken king and back again. The hope that had been slowly growing in his eyes for weeks dims and dies. I see. Reese, it's not. I start, but I do not know how to finish. It is not what he thinks, but it is. It is a mess of fate and folly that has nothing to do with him, yet he is caught in its wake. He holds up a hand, a sad smile touching his lips. It's all right, Ilara. I'm not a fool. Some ties can't be cut, no matter how frayed they get. He takes a step back, his gaze full of a respect that almost breaks my heart. You are a queen, Ilara. Whether you live in a castle or a cabin, you deserve someone who will fight for you. But you also deserve someone who doesn't have to. His eyes flick to Kaelin once more. And I will not be a second choice. I will not be the safe harbor you settle for when the storm has passed. He gives me a final, formal bow. Be well, Witch of the Shadowwood. With that, he turns and melts back into the forest, his scent of autumn leaves and sunshine fading until it is gone completely. He has left, with a dignity and grace that Kaelin, in all his power, never possessed. I am left standing in the silence with the ghost of a simple, happy life I might have had, and the complicated, painful reality of the man still watching me from my bed. Reese's departure is a choice, his choice, and it forces me to realize that soon I will have to make my own. Reese's departure leaves a void. His quiet friendship had become a small point of light in my solitary world, and its absence makes the cabin feel smaller, more crowded with the king's oppressive presence. Kalen saw the entire exchange, saw the quiet dignity of Reese's exit. I can see the knowledge of it settle on him, another layer of his failure. Reese, an exile, showed more honor and respect for me in 5 minutes than Kalen did in a lifetime. He is a good man, Kalen says quietly from the bed. Yes, I agree, my voice tight. He is. I refuse to discuss it further. I turn my energy to my work, tending my garden, checking my snares, reinforcing the wards. The alliance between us is unspoken and born of pure necessity. The shadow creatures are growing bolder. Their attacks on my valley are more frequent, more coordinated. They sense the concentration of power here, my own green magic and the wounded but still potent alpha aura of the king. They are drawn to us like moths to a poisoned flame. We fall into a strange routine. During the day, he rests, his leg slowly mending. I go about my business, ignoring him as much as possible. But at night, when the shadows press in, we are forced to work together. He cannot fight, but his senses are still sharp. Left flank, he will growl from the pallet, his eyes fixed on a point in the darkness outside that I cannot see. 3 of them, moving through the aspens. I will send my power there. A wave of grasping roots or a sudden confusing fog, and I will feel the creatures retreat or be destroyed. His instincts and my power, working in a tandem that is both unnerving and lethally effective. We are a team. The thought is disgusting and thrilling. The bond, the wretched, stubborn thing, hums with a low, dangerous satisfaction every time we succeed. It wants this. It wants us to be a unit. Protect my inner voice, the one that speaks for the forest, whispers. Protect the heart. It means the valley. It means me. And horrifyingly, it seems to mean him too. One night, the attack is worse than ever before. A dozen of them, led by a larger, more intelligent beast, one that seems to be directing the others. It slams against my wards, and the entire cabin shudders. The barrier groans, the woven thorns and roots beginning to splinter under the sustained assault. It's learning, Kalen says, his voice tight with alarm. He tries to push himself up, to stand, but a sharp gasp of pain makes him fall back. He is useless, and he knows it. The frustration rolling off him is a palpable heat. I can feel it, I say, my own power stretched to its limit. I am holding the ward together with sheer will, but it is cracking. Sweat beads on my forehead. It's looking for a weak point. There is no weak point in your defense, he says, and the raw admiration in his voice is a shock, but its power is draining. It feeds on despair, on regret. His eyes lock on mine, and a horrifying understanding passes between us. The creature is feeding on him, on his 5 years of self-hatred and misery. His presence here, his proximity to me, is making the monster stronger. You have to get him out of here, I tell myself, but I know he cannot travel. He is a liability, a lure for the very darkness we are trying to fight. The main creature lets out a psychic shriek, a wave of pure malevolence that washes over the cabin. It is a feeling of utter hopelessness, of cold, gnawing failure. It is the emotional echo of my rejection, magnified 1,000 times. I stagger back, my head spinning, my hold on the wards faltering. The memories rush back, the scornful whispers, Kalen's cold eyes, the crushing weight of exile. The pain is as fresh as if it were yesterday. My power flickers. Alara, Kalen's voice cuts through the haze. It is a command, an alpha's command, but not one of dominance. It is one of desperation, a plea. Don't listen to it. It's a lie. What I did was a lie. He begins to drag himself across the floor. Ignoring the fire that must be screaming in his leg, he pulls his body toward me, his arms shaking with the effort. He is crawling. The Alpha King is crawling across my floor. It told me you were a weakness, he gasps, his face pale with pain and exertion. It was wrong. You were never the weakness. I was. My pride, my fear. That was the weakness. You are the strongest person I've ever known. He reaches my side, collapsing at my feet. He looks up at me, his eyes blazing with a fierce, desperate sincerity. The psychic assault from the creature falters, confused by the sudden, powerful wave of his confession. I am nothing without you, he says, his voice breaking. The kingdom is dying because I am a hollow shell. The land is sick because I broke its heart when I broke yours. I see that now. I see everything I threw away. He reaches out, not to touch me, but holding his hand open in a gesture of supplication. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know that. I don't even ask for it. But I am asking you to let me help you. Let me lend you what little strength I have left. Let me be your weapon, your shield, anything. Just don't fight this alone. This is it, the grovel. Not a performance, but a raw, desperate confession from a man who has lost everything, most of all himself. He is offering me his submission, his power, what remains of it, with no expectation of acceptance. He is acknowledging my pain, validating my strength, and taking full, complete accountability. Outside, the creature shrieks again, this time in fury. It feels its influence waning. It slams against the ward again, and a large crack appears in the wall of thorns. It will be through in moments. I look down at the king at my feet, the man who shattered my world, and in that moment, I have to make a choice. Trust him, just for a moment, and we might survive. Reject him, and we will both be consumed by the darkness he helped to create. The old Ilara would have let him burn, but I am not her anymore. Get up, I say, my voice trembling slightly. We have work to do. The moment I accept his plea for alliance, something shifts in the energy of the cabin. The bond, that tormented thread between us, flares not with pain, but with a spark of violent, desperate purpose. Kalen looks up at me, his expression one of disbelief and overwhelming relief. He uses a nearby stool to haul his broken body upright, leaning heavily against the wall, his face beaded with sweat. How? He asks, his voice strained. How do we fight it? Your despair is its food, I say, my mind racing. So we must give it the opposite, your instinct, my power, together. It is a wild guess, an instinct born of the forest's own wisdom, polarity, balance. It's connected to you, to your misery over what you did. You have to face that, not as a weakness, but as a source of strength, the strength to change. I don't understand, he says, his breathing ragged. You don't have to, I tell him. Just focus on me. Feel the bond. Not the pain of its breaking, but the truth of its existence. The reason the goddess chose us. Let me anchor you. I close my eyes, reaching out not with my hands, but with my mind, with my very soul. I extend a tendril of my green, vibrant power toward him. I feel him flinch, his mind instinctively shying away from the intimacy, the vulnerability. He has spent 5 years locked inside himself. Trust me, Kalen, I whisper. He takes a shuddering breath, and then I feel it, a hesitant, then determined, reaching back. He opens his mind to me. I am flooded with his 5 years of suffering, the endless, sleepless nights, the hollow ache in his chest, the silent screams of his dormant wolf, the crushing, ever-present weight of his regret. It is a sea of black despair, and it almost overwhelms me. But beneath it, buried deep, is the core of him, the alpha, the king, and the mate, the part of him that has been crying out for me since the moment he sent me away. I push past the pain and latch onto that core. I pour my own strength into him, not just the warmth of life, but the unyielding resilience of the ancient forest. You are more than your mistake, I project into his mind. You are the man who can fix it. A tremor runs through him. I feel his own power, rusty and choked with self-loathing, begin to stir. His wolf, the ghost in his soul, lifts its head for the first time in half a decade. It is weak, a pale imitation of what it once was, but it is there, and it recognizes me. Mate. The word is a faint, desperate echo in his mind, and my own heart lurches in response. Outside, the lead shadow creature feels the shift. It roars in frustration and slams against the ward with the force of a battering ram. The entire front wall of the cabin splinters, wood and thorns exploding inward. The beast's horrific, shadowy head pushes through the opening, its eyes burning with cold fire. The air fills with the stench of decay and hopelessness. Kalen lets out a guttural roar, not of a man, but of an alpha. It is weak, strained, but it is real. He channels all his pain, all his regret, all his fury at himself, not into despair, but into raw, protective rage. He cannot move to stand between me and the beast, so he does the only thing he can. He shoves all of his energy, all of his nascent, reawakening power, down the conduit of the bond to me. It hits me like a lightning strike, a wave of pure, concentrated alpha power, the authority to command, the will to protect, the strength of a king. It does not try to dominate my power. It merges with it. My green, life-giving magic ignites, infused with his silver, authoritative aura. The two energies braid together, creating something new, something impossibly potent. I raise my hands, and the light that erupts from them is not just green, but a swirling vortex of green and silver. It is the life of the forest and the authority of the mountain. It is the power of a healer and the power of a king. It is the power of a completed pair. Be gone! The voice that comes from my throat is mine and not mine. It is layered, resonant, echoing with the command of an alpha and the ancient strength of the earth. The beam of light strikes the shadow creature square in the chest. It does not burn it. It does not destroy it. It unmakes it. The creature dissolves, not into nothing, but into its base components. The shadow dissipates into motes of darkness, and the malice that animated it evaporates with a final, psychic sigh of defeat. The other, lesser creatures outside flee in terror, melting back into the darkest corners of the wood. Silence falls. The only sounds are my own harsh breathing and Kalen's ragged gasps. The front of my cabin is destroyed, open to the cold night air, but the threat is gone. I lower my hands, trembling from the sheer force of what just passed through me. The silver-green light fades, but the connection between us remains, a humming, vibrant chord. I look at Kalen. He is slumped against the wall, utterly spent, but his eyes are wide with wonder. He is staring at me as if he is seeing the sunrise for the first time. The cold, dead look that has haunted him for 5 years is gone, replaced by a flicker of the man he was supposed to be. The man his wolf knew he could be. Ilara, he breathes, and my name is a prayer. The crisis has passed, but the true battle is only just beginning. We have forged a weapon together, but the alliance that holds it is fragile, built on a foundation of pain and a desperate need for survival. Now, in the quiet aftermath, the true reckoning awaits. In the weeks that follow, Kalen's leg heals with astonishing speed. The infusion of my power, combined with our temporary joining to fight the shadow beast, seems to have jump-started his own suppressed healing abilities. He is soon able to limp around the cabin, then walk with the aid of a crutch I fashioned for him. He is restless, his kingly instincts chafing at the confinement, but he is also different, quieter, more observant. The arrogance is gone, replaced by a hesitant humility. He tries to help. He chops firewood, his movements clumsy but determined. He helps me repair the damaged wall of the cabin, following my instructions without question. He, who once commanded armies, now takes orders from me on how to mix mud and straw for daubing. The role reversal is not lost on either of us. Every deferential nod, every quiet "as you wish" is a small piece of his ongoing penance. The external threat has not vanished. Though my valley is quiet, I can feel the darkness massing beyond its borders. The leader we fought off was just that, a leader. The army it commanded is still out there, and the blight on the land is worsening. Kalen receives reports from his own mind, fractured images and feelings from his distant pack, of fear and failing defenses. His warriors are looking for him, but the Shadowwood, under my influence, keeps them at bay. It will not allow them to enter until I permit it. I am in control. The true crisis point arrives not from the forest, but from within Kalen himself. His wolf is awake now, a constant, grumbling presence in his mind. It is no longer silent, but it is not friendly. It pushes at him, demanding he do something, demanding he fix the unfixable. It wants its mate. It wants me. And it has no patience for his guilt or my reticence. This internal war comes to a head one evening. He is standing by the repaired wall, looking out at the twilight descending over the valley. I can feel the turmoil rolling off him, the scent of him turning sharp with conflict. "I have to go back," he says, not looking at me. "My people need their king." "Then go," I reply calmly, stirring a pot over the fire. "Your leg is strong enough. The path out of the woods will be clear for you." He turns to face me, and his face is a mask of anguish. "I can't. You are the king. You just said they need you," I point out, keeping my voice even. "I can't go back without you," he says, his voice thick. "I can't be the king they need without you. I will just be the same hollow shell I was before. We will lose, Ilara. The darkness will consume everything because I am incomplete. Because we are incomplete." I stop stirring, my knuckles white on the wooden spoon. "That is not my problem, Kalen. You made your choice 5 years ago. I have made my own life here. A good life. A peaceful one. I will not trade it for a crown and a court full of people who despise me." "They won't," he says desperately. When they see your power, they will understand. They will see a wolfless Omega who somehow tricked their king. I counter, my voice cold as ice. They will see a witch from the woods who holds an unnatural power over you. You think they will hail me as their queen? They will call for my head. Then I will fight them all for you, he roars, taking a step forward. The alpha command is back in his voice, but it is shot through with desperation, not dominance. I slam the spoon down on the table. You don't get to fight for me. You are the one I would have to fight against. Your world, your laws, your people, they are the ones who cast me out. You were just the one to swing the axe. I am trembling with a rage I have kept banked for 5 long years. You don't get to come back now and ask me to help you clean up a mess you made. His face crumples. The anger drains out of him, leaving only a vast empty landscape of despair. He understands. Words are not enough. They will never be enough. He has to prove it. Prove he has changed. He does the one thing I never expected. He walks to the center of the room, turns to face me, and slowly, deliberately, sinks to his knees. The sound of his knees hitting the rough wooden floor of my cabin is like a thunderclap. He bows his head, his hands placed flat on his thighs. He is in the formal position of a shifter surrendering to a higher authority. You are right, he says, his voice choked and muffled, directed at the floor. I have no right to ask you for anything. Words are meaningless. I know that. He looks up, and the tears I see in his eyes are not for himself. They are for me, for the pain he caused me. So I will not ask. I will offer. Everything I am, everything I have, it is all yours. My life, my crown, my pack. It belongs to you, to do with as you will. He takes a deep, shuddering breath, and then performs the ultimate act of submission. He tilts his head to the side, baring the vulnerable, unmarked flesh of his throat, the place where a mate's claim should be. My life is yours, Ilara. If you wish for me to return to my kingdom and die fighting the darkness, I will go. If you wish for me to stay here and serve you as your guard for the rest of my days, I will stay. If you wish to end my pathetic life right here for the pain I caused you, then I will thank you for the mercy. He closes his eyes. The choice is yours. I abdicate my will to you. I am yours to command. The room is silent. The fire crackles. Outside, the wind whispers through the trees. The Alpha King of all shifters is kneeling on my floor, offering me his throat, his life, his entire kingdom. He has placed all the power, all the agency into my hands. He is not asking me to be his queen. He is acknowledging that I am already his ruler. This is his proof, a complete and total surrender, not to win me back, but because he believes it is my right. I stare at the exposed line of his throat, the pulse beating there, a frantic, terrified rhythm. The rage inside me, the glacier of bitterness I have carried for 5 years, begins to crack. He has finally truly understood. He has humbled himself completely. And now, the fate of the kingdom and the man who broke my heart rests entirely in my hands. The choice is mine, and for the first time, I have no idea what I am going to do. I stand there for what feels like an eternity, the firelight casting flickering shadows across Kalen's bowed form. He does not move. He does not speak. He just waits, his life held in abeyance, his fate in my hands. The scent of him is stripped of all arrogance, leaving only the raw, honest smell of embers, snow, and a deep, aching vulnerability. It is the scent of the man his wolf always knew he was. My mind is a whirlwind. A part of me, the vengeful, wounded part, screams to take the ultimate price, to walk away, to tell him to go face his doom alone, to let his kingdom fall as he let me fall. It would be justice. It would be deserved. But as I look at him, I do not see the cruel king from the unveiling. I see the broken man who crawled across my floor to protect me. I see the hesitant penitent who followed my orders without complaint. I see the mate my soul chose, stripped bare of the pride and fear that poisoned him. The forest is quiet around us, waiting. My power, that green and patient energy, is calm within me. It offers no guidance, no pressure. This choice cannot be made for me. It must be mine alone. I think of Reese, of his sad, knowing smile. You deserve someone who will fight for you. Kalen is offering to do more. He is offering to surrender for me. Slowly, I walk toward him. He flinches as my shadow falls over him, but he does not move, his throat still bared. I reach out a hand, my fingers trembling slightly. I do not touch his throat. I place my hand gently on the crown of his bowed head. His hair is soft beneath my calloused palm. He lets out a shuddering breath, a sound that is half sob, half sigh. Get up, Kalen, I say, my voice quiet but firm. He looks up, his storm-gray eyes filled with confusion and a fragile, burgeoning hope. Ilara? I said, get up, I repeat. A king does not kneel in the dirt. He rises slowly, unsteadily, his gaze never leaving mine. He is searching my face for the trick, the trap. He finds none. I don't understand, he whispers. I am not a creature of vengeance, I tell him, my voice gaining strength. I will not be the queen of a ruined kingdom, nor the witch of an empty forest. The darkness that plagues your lands is the same that scratches at my door. Our enemy is the same. Therefore, our fight is the same. His hope grows, a tentative light in his eyes. Then you will help? We will help each other. I correct him. I am not his subordinate. I am not his savior. I am his partner. I will not be your queen because you command it. I will not be your mate because the goddess willed it. If I am to be anything to you, it will be as an equal. We stand together or we fall apart. This is my choice. Understanding dawns on his face, followed by a wave of reverence so profound it takes my breath away. He nods, a single sharp gesture of acceptance. As equals, he agrees, his voice thick with emotion. I take a step closer to him, into his space, into his scent. The bond between us, scarred and damaged, flares with a brilliant healing light. It is no longer painful. It is a circuit, waiting to be completed. I raise my hand, and this time, I do touch his throat. My fingers trace the line of his pulse, and I feel it steady under my touch. But first, I say, my voice dropping to a low whisper, if we are to be equals, then this must be a two-way street. I tilt my own head to the side, baring my own throat to him. It is the place of an Omega's submission, but I am not submitting. I am offering trust. I am showing him that I am willing to be as vulnerable to him as he was to me. It is the final test. He stares at my offered throat, his breath catching. He understands the magnitude of the gesture. He slowly lifts his hand, his fingers shaking. He does not touch me with the possessiveness of an alpha claiming his mate. His touch is feather light, filled with a reverence that borders on worship. His thumb gently strokes the side of my neck, and a jolt of pure, unadulterated energy arcs between us. It is not the wild magic of our combined fight against the beast, but something deeper, more profound. It is acceptance, mutual, conscious. Mine, his wolf purrs in his mind, a sound I can feel vibrating through our connection. Ours, the ancient power of the forest, breathes back through me. In that moment, the bond does not just heal, it reforges. It becomes something stronger, tempered in the fires of pain and regret, cooled by forgiveness and acceptance. The cold void in my chest fills with a warm, silver-green light, a perfect fusion of his power and mine. I feel his own wolf surge back to life within him, not just awake, but whole, roaring with triumphant joy. His scent of embers and snow is now intertwined with my own of rain and wildflowers, creating a new fragrance that is uniquely ours. We stand there, connected, our hands on each other's throats, not as a threat, but as a promise. The world outside the cabin falls away. There is only the two of us, scarred but whole, finally balanced. Then, a new wave of power washes over me, a vision from the land itself. I see the leader of the shadow creatures, the true master of the blight. It is not just a beast. It is an ancient, disembodied intelligence, a parasite of the earth that has been awakened by the imbalance we created. Its main host, its heart, is not in the deep woods. It has coiled itself around the heartstone of the kingdom, the source of all shifter power, hidden in the catacombs beneath Kalen's castle. It is choking the life from the land at its very source. I pull back, my eyes wide. It's at the castle, I say, my voice urgent. The source of the blight. It's in your home. Kalen's face hardens, the king returning to his eyes, but this time his power is tempered by my presence, balanced and whole. Then that is where we will go. He looks at me, his partner, his equal. Are you ready, my queen? He asks. The title no longer a demand, but a question filled with respect. I meet his gaze, my own power rising to meet his. I am not your queen, I say, a small smile touching my lips, for the first time in his presence. I am your storm. We leave the valley at dawn. Kalen sends a call, a true alpha's summons that rings with power and newfound wholeness across the mountains. Within hours, his warriors find us. They stare in stunned silence at me, standing beside their king, my hand resting on his arm as if it belongs there. They can feel the change in him, the completion of his aura. They can smell our combined scent, the undeniable proof of a fully accepted mate bond. They see my power, the way the forest itself seems to bend to my will, and their suspicion turns to awe. The journey to the capital is swift. We ride together, our combined presence a beacon of hope against the encroaching darkness. The land we pass through is gray and dying, but as we pass, a faint touch of green returns to the edges of the blighted soil. Our healed bond is already beginning to heal the land. The final confrontation takes place in the cavern of the Heartstone. The great crystal, once glowing with vibrant life, is now encased in a mass of writhing shadow, a cancerous heart of darkness. The parasitic intelligence lashes out, sending waves of shadow beasts and despair against us. Kalen's royal guard holds the line, but the true battle is for us alone. It is feeding on the stone, I say, feeling the life being drained from the crystal. We can't destroy it without destroying the stone itself. Then we cleanse it, Kalen growls, his wolf and his man in perfect sync. He looks at me, a question in his eyes. He is the anchor, the raw power. I am the conduit, the wielder. We move as one. He plants his feet, drawing on the power of his kingship, the loyalty of his people, and the strength of the Heartstone itself. He becomes a living conduit of silver alpha energy. I stand before him, placing my hands on the corrupted crystal, and I open the floodgates. I pull his power into me, merging it with my own green life force, and pour our combined balanced energy into the stone. It is a battle of wills. The shadow entity fights back, screaming its hatred and hunger into our minds, showing us visions of our deepest fears. My exile, his solitary misery. But the visions have no power over us now. We have faced those demons and conquered them. Our shared strength, born of forgiveness, is a fire the shadows cannot consume. The silver-green light grows, pushing back the darkness, scouring the corruption from the Heartstone, with a final deafening shriek that shakes the very foundations of the castle. The shadow parasite dissolves, its energy harmlessly absorbed and purified by the revitalized stone. A wave of pure life force erupts from the Heartstone, washing over the cavern, up through the castle, and out across the kingdom. The blight recedes like a fast-fading tide, leaving behind clean, healthy earth. The sky clears, the war is over. In the aftermath, we stand in the glowing cavern, exhausted but victorious. Kalen pulls me into his arms, holding me not with the desperation of a drowning man, but with the steady strength of a man who has finally found his shore. "I love you, Ilara," he whispers into my hair. "Not because you are my mate, or my queen, or my salvation. I love you for the woman you are, the woman you became not because of me, but in spite of me." "I know," I whisper back, and I press my face into the curve of his neck, breathing in the scent of home. Our life together is not a fairy tale. The scars remain. There are days when the memory of my humiliation is a cold stone in my gut, and nights when he wakes from nightmares of his lonely, silent years. The court is slow to accept me, their new Luna, who is not a wolf but something older, stranger, and far more powerful. But they cannot deny the evidence of their own eyes, the renewed land, the strength of their king, and the undeniable power of our bond. We rule as we fought, as equals. He is the mountain, I am the forest. He is the sword, I am the shield. He is the king, and I am his heart. We rebuild the kingdom, not as it was, but as it should be. A place where strength is found not in pride, but in partnership, and where worth is measured not by the beast within, but by the resilience of the soul. It is an earned peace, a scarred but whole love, and a future we built together from the ashes of our broken past.